What's up, Senior Home Business fam? I hope you're having a great Wednesday. I'm here with Brittney Moore from Texas/Missouri. I know you fly back and forth, travel back and forth, doing all kinds of stuff. And we're here to talk about the senior referral business a little bit. But as you well know, if you've been following us for the last several weeks, we've been hitting on various topics in senior living. So we want this to be the senior living channel in terms of just educating the general public as to what to look for in various different aspects of senior living. And there's so much out there. And, you know, when I first got involved in senior living, Brittney, a lot of this was confusing because a lot of these terms were just used interchangeably. And I'm like, okay, can we just get down to one word or even two? Just call everything senior living. Do we have to call it assisted living, memory care, and all that? Just call it one umbrella. And it got very confusing for me. So I don't know if that was your experience or not, but man, it's just like, yeah. So we're going to talk about in-home care. Did I say it right? Because I always call it in-home health care. And Brittney and I were talking off camera about that. And I think I already messed up twice before we got on the camera. So hopefully I won't mess up during this time, but we're going to talk about in-home health care versus in-home care because there is a difference. And so we want to help you out this morning doing that. But hey, if you want to join a senior living group of people, just be a part of a group of people, I would consider most of them advocates for seniors. A lot of them just have an interest in the overall industry. And you can drop down in the description and click a link and you can join a free group there. It's on our Senior Home Business platform. Also, if you want to know more about the senior referral business, you can click down below and I believe you can schedule a consultation with myself. I would love to be able to talk with you and get to know you. So Brittney, here we go. We're on with in-home care, right? I didn't say health, did I? I didn't say health. Nope. It's okay to be healthy though, right? We need to be healthy. I mean, come on, man, we need to be healthy, but we're not talking about that today. So what I want to do real quickly is I want Brittney for us to kind of go through the difference a little bit as to what the difference is between these two. Let me back up here. So we're going to talk about home care services. And so we're essentially talking about are these items right here. There's several different ones. I'm not going to read all of them, but basically you're talking about someone coming to your home and they're providing housekeeping. They're cleaning, they're washing dishes. They're doing some little bit of, medication management, reminders, things like that, and meal preparation. We call it in California companionship. So that's probably why I get that in-home care and in-home health care confused because I always call it like companionship out here and in-home health. So Brittney, what do you call it there in Texas and Missouri?
So we've a couple things. So private duty is one. So private duty care, or we just call it in-home care. We have in-home care in Missouri and Texas can mean companionship care, but we usually don't use that unless it's someone just coming there to essentially sit with an elder. If it's something where they're performing like bathing, dressing, grooming, we call those ADLs. If you're helping with that, we just call it in-home care, but that doesn't fall into in-home health in my areas. That's just in-home care strictly. So caregivers.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the cost factor, right? That's always kind of the big thing, right? Even in the senior referral business, when you talk to people about assisted living, memory care, we consider the care being paramount, but obviously when you get to the brass tacks of it all, it comes down to cost. So there is a huge difference in cost between home care services and in-home health care services. So we don't want you to be confused about that. But so there's some of the other different items there. Transportation. So if you have a loved one living at home, just needs some, they just can't get up. The mobility is lacking. They can't clean their house or they just can't fix their meals. And, you probably all know someone out there in the senior fam out there talking about just knowing people that, the kids, adult kids are working 9 to 5, maybe 8 to 6, maybe 12 hours a day. And they don't have the time to be at home with their loved one, their mom or dad, to help prep meals and to take them to their doctor's appointments and things like that. So how valuable is that, Brittney, for someone to have to come by, whether it's just companionship and be able to take them to their doctor's appointments?
I mean, even the sense for the family of safety. So I think a lot of families that I've spoke with, just having somebody in the home as a safety precaution if there were to be a fall, or just especially someone to bring them to their doctor's appointments while they can work, that's huge. We have families that are on FMLA. We have families that have taken PTO or can't get, they're in between jobs because they have to care for their loved ones. So yeah, I mean, the safety, the security, transportation is huge. I will, to kind of piggyback that, I do know a lot of companies in both of my areas. Not all of them provide transportation. There's a certain kind of company that does that, but that could be specific to.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any liability issues
Yeah.
with transportation. I know in the senior frill business, there's a franchise out there that when they started their franchise, it was all about picking up seniors and taking them to communities for the tour and all that. And I just never got into that because of liability issues. So I wonder in this arena, in this industry, is kind of similar. I mean, you really got to be careful, guys, when you're transporting others, people in general, but especially the older we get. I'm 55 and man, I'm starting to feel a little bit of the bones kind of hurt a little bit every now and then. So you might not want to put me in your car, so it's just a liability issue. But so that's the home care services that we're going to talk about today. But real briefly, the home health care services is very different, right, Brittney? Can you go through a little bit about what makes home health care different than in-home health or in-home care?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is all circumstantial to my areas, but the private caregivers that I was referring to for just the in-home private duty or companionship care they're not medical. They're not licensed in any kind of medical way. So they're not usually CNAs. They're not patient care techs. They're not all of those words. In my experience with home health is usually an RN oversight for sure. There's either an RN coming to perform an IV injections, physical therapists, occupational therapists. These are people that are licensed to do that job, as to where caregivers are not. So essentially they don't have the medical license to do that. In my areas, we don't really have the accessibility to private pay someone to come in and do these things. As far as IVs, ileostomy care, all of those medical terms, it's pretty hard to find an RN that's willing to do that or that can do that for those time periods, maybe 1 to 4 hours per day or a few times a week. So home health is referred to the physical therapist, occupational therapist, something that is written by a doctor, essentially a script for Medicare to pay for it. So that's something that Medicare is one of their benefits, and a script has to be written by a doctor to perform those services. And they're usually only an extended period of time, anywhere from 1 to 12 weeks is typically what I see with clients.
Wow. That's good. That's good. You mentioned a time frame, and that's so true because, whether it be in-home health care or whether it be in home care, is these companies all provide blocks of service, like they're going about 3 hours at a time, 6 hours at a time. And I know that can kind of be confusing for some that are out there because they're like, man, I see somebody come by for an hour and kind of pick up the house a little bit. That's not what they're going to be charging you guys. So be thinking about that, because you can go through an hourly rate and those kind of things. So speaking of that, we're going to talk about the cost of in-home care here. And so I'm going to add this here, this article pulled up, and these are some of the states. Now, this article is a little bit dated. Now, the article was written in 2023. You'll notice in this article here, the survey was conducted in 2015. So a lot has changed since then, right, Brittney? I mean, assisted living has gone up 15, 20% since COVID. So these numbers are probably a little bit skewed, but kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at across the nation if you're going to be spending in home care, right? Or companion. We call it a lot more companion care out in California. And so that's why I get the tongue twister going on. But here's the most expensive states, at least back then. You got North Dakota, Alaska, and et cetera. You're looking at the 25 to 27 range, and then you drop down to Alabama, Mississippi, and man, North Carolina. Let's go, man, home of the hills. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Kind of a sore subject since they lost in the Elite Eight, and the Sweet 16. Oh my gosh, see, I'm being hopeful. I was hoping they make it to the Elite Eight so we can go to it, but didn't happen. But you'll see those costs are $16 to $18. I see this type service, Brittney, in California being closer to $25 an hour. And if you're out there listening, a senior home business family, and you know some of these costs in your state, go and hit down in the description. What are these costs? What does it cost for companion care and home care in your state? But Brittney, is those rates pretty accurate or close to what it is in Texas or Missouri?
32 to 36 an hour for both, actually.
32 to 36. Woo, baby. Man, I don't even want to get my calculator on that.
27. The lowest I've seen is 27.
Wow. And see, that blows that out the door too. See where it's highlighted in blue there? You can anticipate $4,000 a month. Again, guys, that survey was taken 9 years ago. So it's a little bit dated, but just fast forward today. And yeah, one of the things that baffles me, kind of disturbs me a little bit, Brittney, and let me vent a little bit, is we're seeing all these costs go up, right? We're seeing all these costs go up. And, it just doesn't change, right? It just keeps escalating. But it doesn't seem like there's additional services and programs for seniors. Seniors is very limited out there in how they could pay for these services. And so that's the frustration from families. And it's not like the senior can go out and get a part-time job. Now, maybe some of them can. We've all seen maybe a greeter at Walmart, or maybe someone, doing something at home. They have a skill set. They can work from their home. But let's say you're 88 years old and you just can't, physically get out of your house or do anything. Your skill set's limited. Maybe you worked in a manufacturing plant for most of your life, and there's really not a whole lot you can contribute in the sense of, someone's going to pay for something, a service, or that you're going to do, or kick out a product. So it's just sad because their income is limited. They've hit a ceiling. And now I understand inflation, I understand the cost of living, I understand different things, but it's just sad for me. Maybe this is the advocate, being an advocate for senior mentality of me. It's just sad to see an income of a senior plateau and then the services keep going up. I just wish there was a lot more opportunities and programs out there for seniors. I mean, can we get some more programs? Come on, people. Who wants to see more programs for seniors? Hit that in the description. My gosh. I mean, we've got, like, Brittney, veterans benefits, every state that I'm aware of. Now, there might be some that I'm unaware of, but most states, at least throughout the country, have some sort of Medicaid. California, we call it Medi-Cal because we got to be different, right? But some sort of Medicaid program that's going to be a benefit to seniors. But usually there's an extended wait for those programs. Doesn't provide any immediate relief. Can we put our brain power together, and Congress, Senate, people, and leadership, and just come together and get some more programs? Maybe you and I just need to, pioneer some things, Brittney, kind of start some program. Jeez.
Yeah, there's not much. And all of the Medicaid programs, like you said, in my areas are on 2+ year wait list, and they don't provide much, even at that. Like the in-home care, it's really hard to find caregivers that will work with the Medicaid in-home care that are providing it, and anywhere from 3 hours a day. But it takes 2 years to get that. And usually at that point, the senior or the family needs a lot more than 3 hours per day that Medicaid's willing to provide.
Absolutely. And going back to that block of time, where, again, in my state, it's more or less like at least 3 hours. Most time it's 6, but it could be 3. But again, if you're that adult kid and you're working 12 hours a day, you don't need 3 to 6 hours, because let's say you do 6 hours and you're still at work for the additional 6. That means your loved one, your mom or dad, are home by themselves for 6 hours. And, and if they can take care of themselves is one thing. Like my mom and dad are still at a place, they're a little more independent. Now my dad is kind of, depends on my mom a lot, but mom is extremely independent right now. And so, that's okay. They can be independent. We want to, maintain our independence. Number one. I mean, I've told you before, Brittney, and I think you agree, man, I don't want to go to any community when I get of age. I'm in the business now. I help seniors get from where they are to where they need to be at no cost, no obligation. That's what we do. Brittney is referral agents, right? We help seniors. We help them navigate through this process. But something within me is like, I'm 55 years of age. I'm not going, when I turn 85, I'm necessarily going to go to a community. I don't know. Everything within me just wants to be independent.
I'll be the opposite. I'll be ready to go. No, I'll be ready to go. I told my husband we're going, and he will be the one not wanting to go. But yeah, I think I see the benefits of it. So,
is it a guy thing then?
I think so.
Trey, maybe it's a guy.
Women like to socialize. The aspect of it, I think, would be really beneficial for me. So I would be bored at home.
That is a great point right there, the socialization point, because if you are at home alone, or just maybe it's you and your wife, and there's very few seniors in your neighborhood, it is a benefit being in these communities, right? And being around other seniors. Now with in-home care and in-home health care, you don't have that socialization part of it. So that'd be another factor for people to kind of, figure in whether this is a right fit for you. Because I think it's an awesome thing. I think any service for seniors is awesome, but it might not be, for someone like you would want to go to a community. For me, let me kick back and watch ESPN and somebody make me dinner. I like that.
Yeah, no, I think more men definitely, in my experience, like the home care better. But I think the main thing we see, like, I really love home care. We work a lot with them. We use them to our advantage for getting seniors in the right place. We can use them for being an extra support system. Even if someone does live in a community, there's a lot of options with it. But I will say a lot of times it's just the cost factor. If you compare it to a community, 24-hour care in-home care is around $22,000 a month when you start doing the math. So it really just, if you have somebody in the home for 24 hours. And then I think in my area for a live-in, it's $350 a day. I'm not sure, Matt, if they provide live-in in your area, but.
Well, that's about right because of those services. And then if someone, let's say they go to the hospital, they fracture their hip, let's say they go to the hospital, then they go to skilled nursing facility, and they blow through their insurance, they blow through Medicare, those type things. And so they get to a point where it's time to discharge. It's time to leave. Mm-hmm. And if they cannot leave, the skilled nursing facility obviously cannot discharge them to an unsafe place. So let's say they have nowhere to go or it's an unsafe environment. They can't discharge them. However, in the state of California, the skilled nursing facilities I deal with, it's based on your income, based on a lot of different factors. But the range is, if you stay there beyond what your insurance will pay, the private pay part will be between $250 and $450 a day. Mm-hmm. Guys, do that math. And I know some people are like, man, I just can't go, and they just keep racking up the bill. But man, somebody's going to have to pay for that. And so it's again, it comes down to these programs that we got to come up with. Maybe the senior home business family out there can come up with some programs. We can initiate it. All right, let's get into calculating the cost, because going back to this article here, you scroll down here, calculating the cost. I mean, you're going to have, of course, hourly rates. We get that, right? But there's also some companies out there who do daily rates, overnight rates, which gets to be a lot more expensive, right? Anytime you're trying to get somebody to come during the evening. But also, Brittney, it's, I kind of pulled up from a different article, and not only these costs, so like hourly rates, daily rates, overnight fees, and things like that, but I mean, you're going to have sometimes cancellation fees. Let's say you cancel at the last minute, or you ever done that? Gone, schedule maybe your appointment with your dentist or your doctor, and you get hit with a $50 charge or something because you cancel. That happens in this industry as well. Travel expenses would be another one. I mean, sometimes companies will say, okay, here's the hourly rate, but it depends on how far the caregiver's coming from. Maybe he or she's coming, 50 miles away. So they got to factor in the travel expense. Or they just do something in a local area, and maybe you live up in the mountains or on the coast somewhere and you're outside their range. Equipment and supplies would be another one. Depending on individual needs, there may be a cost associated with purchasing or renting medical equipment, wheelchairs, walkers, et cetera, things like that. So there's, when you calculate the cost, you need to factor in those things. Brittney, is there anything else that people need to look at when they're trying to figure out the cost? Because I know it's not just the hourly rate. There's other things. So is there anything else they need to look at?
The large portion is the home. So you're still paying for possibly a mortgage, your electric, everything that we pay for. Mm-hmm. That's a huge factor. So when I talk to families, when I'm crunching numbers or trying to make things make sense, you still have the cost of that home. And if you don't have a family member mowing the grass, like all of those things that you would get necessarily if you did move to a community, or if you did have somebody there 24 hours with you, that has to be done. So that's
Wow.
the bills, I would say, definitely are a huge factor when you're looking at staying home versus going to a community, or just, how many hours you need, things like that. I know that the caregivers help with laundry, but they're not providing the laundry soap. They help with dishes. Like, you have all of those costs that come no different than if you didn't have a caregiver. You're just adding that on.
So essentially, for families that are out there considering this in-home care, you're still maintaining your current level of expenses, like you said, the mortgage, cutting the grass, detergent, those type things, and you're essentially adding on the service. And so that's when you calculate the cost. That's a huge factor, because I don't know where mom or dad might be in terms of their living expense and their income. So I don't, let's say they're bringing in $4,000 a month and their monthly expenses is $2,000, then you pretty much got maybe a couple grand, and that's probably stretching it. I mean, that's getting real close, obviously. Hey, there's a question out there from our friend Michael Parrish. What's up, Michael Parrish? My man, what's up, buddy? Hey, make sure you bring some good questions on Thursday too. I love it. Yeah, I'm not there. I know Brittany's doing our round table, and I love that, and I appreciate that about her. And but Michael says, is there a cost checklist? I've seen some. I don't have one personally. Brittany, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I don't have one personally. I know communities, when I've toured them, they'll hand it to families that are considering, whether in-home care community is a good fit. So I'll try to get one to him. A community has sent me one before. So that goes down, and you can just write in like a mortgage or reverse community cost, things like that.
Absolutely. So calculating the cost, you guys, you just got to go through not only the service and those different kinds of things, but get into the cost factor, probably even before the cost, even though that was kind of an educational kind of thing. You guys, you have to do your homework. Just as all communities, all RCF communities, assisted living communities, memory care communities are not the same. It's not a franchise in the sense that, like, I use this example a lot, and I don't go to McDonald's or Burger King anymore, but it's, I'm trying to work on my 55-year-old health over here. But, hey, I've been to those places quite a few times in my life. But you go to Burger King, for instance, you kind of expect the Whopper to taste the same, look the same, be the same wherever you go. I mean, it might be a little difference, but you guys, that's not the same with communities, and it's not the same with in-home care companies. I would ask, because some of the questions I'd go with, and I'm gonna put this article, Brittany, just off the top of my head, and I'll let you speak to it as well, is, how long they've been in business? What's the educational level of the employees? What's their experience? How many clients do they have? How many testimonies do they have? How many people you can actually talk to in real time and figure out exactly how the service is being provided? Don't just go on Google, guys. We teach you this in the in senior home business and all through the academy. Now it's going to be the Senior Placement Institute, right, Brittany? We're getting that going. We've already started the recording of these videos and updating all that. But we instruct throughout the academy not to judge, and that's kind of a harsh word, but don't evaluate communities just solely based on internet reviews, right? Google reviews, Yelp, things like that. And there's a couple of different reasons. One, you could see a bad review. You could see some former caregiver just light up the community. Oh my God, they were terrible. The floors were always dirty. They never got to the senior in time. The food was always undercooked, and all that stuff. And it may simply just be a disgruntled employee, former employee, right? Who's just venting. However, I have personally seen communities that have all kinds of rave reviews. Matter of fact, a community I used to work with, I'm not going to say the name on here, but I used to work with, they paid their management group employees, and I say pay, they gave them like maybe a $5 to $10 Starbucks card, right? But that's very important to me, because I go to Starbucks all the time. I might be going to Starbucks after this show. I don't know. I love Starbucks, and I should have stock in it. But they gave them all these gift cards to specifically go on Google and give a dynamite review. And the reviews were not like, oh, I love this community, it's beautiful. No, they were so descriptive, like, oh, When mom walked in, it was just simply gorgeous. It was heaven. Oh, the seniors just embraced her. Oh my gosh, they brought the food to her table right away. Exactly the food she likes. Oh my Lord. I mean, they went on and on and on. So I just want to encourage you guys, don't base it on Google reviews, Yelp reviews. You can look at those things, but I would absolutely make some phone calls and talk to people. Brittney, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. No different than shopping. Like you said, like we teach and like we perform. I'm looking for communities, same thing. I think one question that I would say a lot of reasons that we get calls from people that are using home care. A big thing that comes up is what happens if my caregiver doesn't show up. That is a little bit of a strenuous process. So I always tell families to find out kind of how they operate as a business. If a caregiver is sick or their child's sick or there's just a dire need for a caregiver. So there's lots of questions, Matt, I'm sure that we could come up with to ask, but I would say definitely find out how they operate as a whole. There's franchises, there's locally owned, there's people that just have full-time caregivers, part-time caregivers. There's so many different options for home care, and they might all look the same on the front end, but a lot of them have tons of different moving parts in their business.
Absolutely. And what I would do, guys, just from a practical standpoint, I would develop a list. If there's this many in your area, it's all based on population, the size of your city and all. But let's say you have an abundance of these communities in home care communities or companies rather. I would develop a list of 10. And then I would just start listening through look up their website, look at what the service they provide. And then based on some of the reviews, maybe some contacts you make, I would narrow it down to 3. Mm-hmm. And then I would personally talk to these individuals because, guys, you have to understand these individuals are coming into your loved one's home and taking care of your loved one. And so it's a great service, but if anybody's going to come to my mom and dad's house, I want to know about it, right? My mom, and a couple of weeks ago, Brittney, she, I called her on my dad's land phone. My dad has a land phone, mm-hmm. and my mom has her cell phone. Well, I kept calling my mom's cell phone. I want to speak with her, and she wasn't answering, which is kind of atypical. So I called my dad's land phone. She answered, and I said, "Mom, how you doing?" She goes, "Oh, my son, I'm doing really well. Can I call you back? I'm getting my computer fixed." Well, her computer fixed. I just bought her a computer like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, what could be the problem? And I said, "Well, Mom, who's fixing your computer?" She said, "Oh, this guy," and I forgot his name. Let's call him Bill. She goes, "Oh, the guy Bill, he's walking me through the process. He's been so helpful." I said, "Mom, who is this Bill?" She goes, "Oh, he's the computer guy." I said, "How do you know him?" She goes, "Oh, he's online helping me." I said, "Okay, let's back up. Mom, how did you get in touch with this guy?" She goes, "Oh, well, I clicked on a Clydesdale horse, a picture. And guys, this happens to seniors all the time. It's kind of off the subject, get on the subject." And she clicked on a Clydesdale horse because she loves those Clydesdale horses. And it sent her to a link that she clicked, another link. And something popped on her screen and said, "Your computer has been infected. Your computer needs this. Oh, please call this number." Mom called the number. And it was some guy in DC. And he was there. He was trying to, get her to, offer payment for certain things. And she goes, "Son, he needs to fix it." I said, "Let me speak to him." And you know what the guy told her? No, don't talk to your son. Don't tell anybody what I'm telling you right now. It's top security. Get off the phone with your son. I can't tell you on camera what I was saying over the phone, but it was some choice words that I was covering because I'm 2,500 miles away from my mom. I'm in California. She's in Virginia. You kind of hear the country accent. So, but anyway, it just comes down to, if you want people coming in your house or your parents' house, and this was a simpler case through just the internet, you got to be protective. You've got to be, look out for your loved one because sometimes they're very, I'm not saying that they're all gullible and they're all believing, people around, but it just happens where, like my mom's internet thing seemed very legit and it wasn't. So, and there's most companies that are out there, guys, are legit. Most companies are fantastic, but I still would vet every single one of them. Brittney, this article went on to talk about, what to look for. So how long they've been in service. We just got to finish talking about that. What kind of qualifications, experience the staff has. We talked about that. Talked about it being insured, bonded, whether or not they work with a doctor to develop a care plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I know that's huge in California, you guys. I mean, with the moving into an RCFEs, you got to have a 602 physician's report, right? That's not the case for any other state, I believe, but they have their evaluation forms. But are they working with a doctor? That would be a huge thing. I don't know. For me, that would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then references, we talked about that. And so references, and make sure that you're comfortable with the people that are going out. That would be good. Okay, let's get into the last but not least. I want to get into how is in-home care paid for. Brittney, hit it real good for me if you would, because I know every state's a little bit different, and you've got the joy of working in 2 states. I only work in California, so Brittney's got a lot more knowledge and information about this than I do in regards to multiple states. So can you speak to that? How is in-home care paid for?
Overall, all private pay. So there's different ways to do private pay. There is a couple Medicaid programs in the states that I work in. Again, they're on 2+ year wait list and typically definitely don't provide 24-hour care. They don't even provide 8 hours a day. Usually Medicaid's 3 or 4 hours per day, sometimes only 3 times a week. So Medicaid, there are programs out there, just long wait lists for that. In Texas, they call it the Star Plus waiver. In Missouri, they call it just a Medicaid waiver for community-based living is what they call it in Missouri. So again, all different names, but private pay. So that's no different than you would pay for a community, or you would pay your mortgage. That's coming out of your checking, your savings, your Social Security, whatever you get per month. You would essentially pay the home care agency no different than you pay a mortgage. So you would pay the bill that way. Long-term care insurance is another way. Some policies do provide basically a compensation for in-home care. I've seen policies that only provide basically reimbursement for a community, not just in-home care. So check for that. But long-term care insurance, VA benefits also. VA aid and attendance benefit is one that I work with a lot for in-home care and community. So that is a benefit that either a veteran or a surviving spouse can get. That's a dollar amount they get per month based on tons of qualifications and a long process, usually, unfortunately, with the VA, but that can also be what you pay. I would say usually most common is private pay, VA, and long-term care.
Wow. Yeah, it's an expense, you guys. And Brittney, thank you for the information. It's just look into it. And guys, if I could just say this, whether it's in-home care, in-home health care, assisted living, know the care needs of your loved one. You don't necessarily need to be an advocate for seniors to love your parents, right? Love the people that are around you. And if you start seeing things they're slipping, not just physically, but I mean, just slipping, could be with their memory, it could be leaving the stove on, could be, just not taking a shower anytime during the week, could be always doing things in the microwave, or just not eating altogether, whatever it may be. If you start seeing all these different signs, please be proactive and help your loved one out. I know you will. I know I'm just preaching to the choir, but just a good reminder. But again, thank you so much for joining us today on the Senior Home Business YouTube channel and talking about in-home care. Hope this was beneficial to you. And again, if you want to join a free senior living group of people that just love seniors, click the link below. And if you want to know more about the senior referral business, you can click a link below and schedule a consultation with myself. Love to talk with you. And you might be at a place where is a senior referral business right for me? We'll discuss that as well. Well, maybe you want to know the cost. I don't want to know the cost, right? But, I think of cost nowadays, Brittney. I used to be the person that was always back in the day kind of just flipping over the tag and what does this thing cost? What does it cost? And, we need to get to the place, what is it worth? And that's really revolutionizing my life and shifting that perspective from cost to what something, what it may cost me in terms of dollars and cents, but what is it worth to me? So if that's worth a conversation with you, love to have a conversation with you, and just click the link below. But until next time, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.